Hi, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapisa Sibidi. In our first story, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbon is leading mediation talks with the leadership of Parliament to resolve the frosty relationship existing between the two caucuses. The talks will involve some senior citizens of the country to bring peace to the House. This comes after members of the Council of State called on the Speaker to appreciate his challenge in this hung Parliament. Here's Chairman of the Council of State, Nana Otua Seraboa.
There have been institutional, there have been ego issues, there have been procedural issues, there have been a whole host of issues. Even physical sometimes, which is the least to be desired. But we feel, as our elders say, that it is bent but not broken, and that could be mended. And that to be able to mend it effectively, you need to start from brass tacks. You need to start from brass tacks and listen to whatever remote or immediate causes that they may be. To that end, Mr. Speaker, we engaged the leadership of the Minority Caucus last week, on Wednesday, and they were very, very frank with us. They opened up, told us all that they felt, and they came out of the meeting very much refreshed. As you rightly said, unless the patient opens up, the doctor may give the wrong diagnosis. We followed that with a meeting with the leadership of the Majority Caucus yesterday, and it was equally rewarding and extremely refreshing. Very, very uplifting, and very much to be happy about. Parliament stands on a tripod of legs: the minority, the majority, and of course the speakership. And for Parliament to be strong, all these arms should be strong and to be coordinated in such a way that there's harmony amongst all the three various legs and arms. So we felt that you, the Speaker, who will speak for Parliament, we would to be remiss on our part if we attempted to prefer any solutions without having the benefit of hearing directly from you and from your position, your perspective as Speaker, and also the fact that you have been in Parliament all these years and you know how Parliament should run. I've told the two caucuses the other day, yesterday and last week, that Parliament should be awesome, but should not by any means awful.
The Speaker, who's unhappy with how the House is degenerating into a boxing arena, is confident the mediation talks will achieve the intended purpose.
None of us is happy the way things are going. But I keep on saying that in spite of the hopes and expectations, temper it with the real challenges that such a new system will actually offer to us Ghanaians. We've never had such a hung parliament before. And you know, governance is usually run by majority. And so when you fail sometimes to have majority, decision taking becomes a serious challenge. And particularly the system that we are running. And so my birth itself gave me some clue as to what I'm going to expect on the floor. So I really understood that I will be meeting challenges. The second is that the product of the 2020 elections is another indication that we'll be having challenges. Habits die hard. It takes time. So some habits are changing, but slowly. And as you said, we have no choice. That is what we decided for ourselves. So we must learn to live by it, and through it, don't see it as a challenge, but see it as an opportunity to rather deepen, consolidate, and entrench democratic society in Ghana. I see myself, even though I'm a member of NDC, throughout my practice, I've not been a fanatic of party politics. I've always reached across the political divide and have very good friends on the other side of the political divide. And that is how come I won. I couldn't have won without the support of members from the other side. That is a reality, that is a truism, and that I believe. And so you will hear me saying that at the end of the day, I don't expect either party to be praising me. You also heard me say that in the performance of my functions, I'll be what? Impartial. But that doesn't mean I'll be neutral.
A Cape Coast High Court presided over Justice Kwesi Boakye singled out a bank staff in a robbery of 600,000 Ghana cedis and gave him a sentence of 25 years. Michael Fosu Lesbosa, who was a cleaner working at the Ghana Commercial Bank branch at Asikuma in the Central Region, was among 4 persons who conspired to rob a customer of a bank and subsequently robbed the customer of an amount of 600,000 Ghana cedis. Justice Kwesi Boakye, in sentencing the 4 persons, indicated that though Michael's share of the booty was the least, which was 10,000 Ghana cedis, he decided to single him out and deal with him severely. Richard Kojanyako has more in this report.
28th of October 2020, the complainant went to the Ghana Commercial Bank at Bremane Sikuma to withdraw 600,000 Ghana cedis for his employers, Nyankopa Cocoa Buying Limited. The money was put in a sack and loaded into his vehicle with the help of Obed Minta, his technical officer, and Eric Mensah, his accountant. They set off with the money in the boot of his car. The accountant followed up on a motorcycle. A few meters to their depot, they were stopped by 2 of the robbers who were wielding guns. Asked the complainant to turn off the car engine and get down from the car. He obliged. They asked him to open the car boot and marched him together with Eric Mensah and Obed Minta into the nearby bush where they tied them with sellotapes. The robbers took all the money from the car boot, used Eric Mensah's motorcycle and fled from the scene. On the 30th of October 2020, the police stopped a taxi during a snap check within Bremane Sikuma. A search in a taxi cab led to the discovery of sacks of money packed under the car seats. All the 3 persons on board were arrested. One of the robbers who was on board the taxi told the police that was part of the money they robbed from the complainants. Out of the 600,000 the robbers took, the police were able to retrieve nearly 500,000 Ghana cedis of the money from their individual hideouts. Justice Kwesi Boakye indicated the role played by the bank staff in the commission of the robbery left much to be desired, and considering the fact that it was Michael who told his counterpart that the complainant had come to cash the amount of money from the bank, and based on the call placed, they succeeded in the operation. The judge described Michael's behavior as a danger and a threat to society. Justice Kwesi Boakye sent a strong warning to staff of banks with such intentions to abandon them now, as the court would deal with them ruthlessly. Before sentencing them, Justice Kwesi Boakye gave the robbers the opportunity to say something. The first robber pleaded, "If I am found guilty, I wish to plead for leniency. I am a family man of 3. I am responsible for them. I have a wife. I promised the court that it would not occur again." The second robber followed. "I have accepted my guilt in this trial. I am grateful for the patience the court has had for me in this trial. I am a family man with children and a wife. I plead that I am forgiven." For the third, he stated, "Please, I have sinned. I would not do that again. I promise that it would not recur. I have a sick mother back home. I plead accordingly." Justice Kwesi Boakye sentenced 3 of the robbers on conspiracy to commit the crime to 20 years imprisonment in hard labor, while the bank staff was sentenced to 25 years in hard labor. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kojanyako, Cape Coast.
Representatives of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, and the Governing Council of the University of Education winner by UEW, are demanding the immediate removal of the chairman of the governing council of the university, Nana Ofori-Ansah I. They want government and the Ministry of Education to intervene and with immediate effect ensure withdrawal of the illegitimate and unilaterally written letter terminating the appointment of the finance officer. According to them, the short reign of the council chairman has been nothing but divisive, dictatorial and authoritative. Richard Kojunyako again.
In a joint press release signed by the president of UTAG and convocation representative on the governing council of UEW, Eric Sechin-Ketia, and the president of GAWA and convocation representative on the governing council, Dr. Beth Ofei-Ewuku, they stated emphatically that such administrative infractions by the council chairman have never happened in the history of the university, nor known to have occasion in any of the sister public universities in Ghana. They also contend that the actions of the council chair are creating tension in the university and foreboding imminent act of vindictiveness and victimization expected to be unleashed on certain targeted staff. And that as concerns senior members of the university, they feel obligated to speak out and not sit aloof in the face of the current happenings. UTAG President Eric Sechin-Ketia has been addressing the media.
The removal of finance officer, which took place last Friday, 25th of February, was a dark day in the history of UEW. He calls emergency meetings by giving 36 hours, 24 hours, 18 hours notice, all because he wants to unsettle people and he wants to ambush council members. And council members have not been excited with this. In fact, there will be council meetings he will call and the absentees will be more than 1/3 of council members. How can you be calling meetings where the absentees are about 1/3 of council members? All because he will call a meeting at say 6 p.m. and the meeting is scheduled for the following morning at 10 a.m. and many people will not be able to make it, and this is not helping the university at all. And so we think that a lot of the things he has done, I mean, many of which I can't put out in the public domain, but some of which we have put together in the statement that was released 28 February 2022, calling for action from His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, through the Minister of Education, the Honorable Tayao Educhu, that they should take steps to immediately remove from office the Chairman of Council of UEW, Nana Ofori-Ansah I.
The two members of the University Governing Council are also demanding the immediate holding of the convocation elections to elect representatives to the council without further delay and call on the Vice-Chancellor to withdraw the letter that has sought to postpone the elections indefinitely. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kojunyako, Cape Coast.
Some residents of Wale in the northeast region have moved to support the government hospital following reports of frequent shortages of medical supplies. The hospital is said to have run out of basic consumables such as syringes, hand gloves, blood collection tubes, among others. In response to the situation, a group of natives mobilized to rescue the hospital. Correspondent Ilyasu Tanko has more.
The dilemma of shortages of medical supplies at the Wale Government Hospital is not new. As the only major government referral facility in the whole of the region, the hospital has frequently been hit by this problem. Clients who visit the facility complain about the lack of non-consumables as well as some essential basic drugs. Some of them claim that the situation sometimes gets severe when they are often forced to purchase every prescription from outside the hospital. My daughter suffered a leg injury and I brought her here to be treated. A nurse told me the hospital had run out of plaster. She asked me to buy it from a shop outside, told me she has one available for sale. I was compelled to buy it from her. The hospital has no drugs. Despite several interventions from authorities over the years, the hospital continued to face this challenge.
In those essence, yes, sometimes some dire consumables until we get a resupply of them. Clients may be told to go and purchase.
As the situation persists with seemingly no end in sight, a youth group called Baumia Youth for Development in the municipal capital over the weekend donated to the hospital.
An idea came, we have to come here and then do some little cleaning and at least donate some few items to the hospital.
Nuhu Ishao is the president of the group.
Because several of us has been here, and sometimes when you come, you are asked to go and buy hand gloves, syringes, and then cannulas from town. So at least we can't wait for government to intervene. So that is the main reason why we are here, to do the cleaning and then donate the little we also have.
The group conducted a clean-up exercise at the premises of the facility before handing over the donation to the hospital staff. The medical superintendent of the facility, George Anson, receiving the donation, thanked the group for its generosity and support.
On our accounts, we'll put everything that is given to us to judicious use. We'll make sure that everything that is presented today will be used in the facility and no other place. We'll equally make sure that the clients that because of them you are donating these items will be the beneficiaries of these items. And we really appreciate what you have done today. In conclusion, I would like to thank every member of the Baumia Youth for Development. What you have done is outstanding, and I take this challenge and pose it to other well-meaning individuals in Walwale to follow the example of what Baumia Youth for Development have done today.
The group also thanked some personalities in the area and made an appeal on behalf of the hospital for more donations.
But we are just pleading. We are pleading to the entire region, that is Northeast and Walwale, those outside, and then those outside Walwale and those inside Walwale to also help. They should help the hospital. Sometimes it's not just about government. At least we ourselves can also do something. In this regards, we say a very big thank you to His Excellency Dr. Alhaj Mahmoud Baumia. The man is someone who wants development for his people. And if I say for his people, it's not about Walewale alone. It's the entire country, the whole Ghana. So we are praying to him that Almighty Allah should add him more life so that after Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo exit, then he will be our next president of Ghana, inshallah.
Reporting for Joy News, Ilyasu Tanko, Walewale.
You may know Asante Tree, Eve or Ga, but do you know about the Wassa language? Spoken in the western region, it is one of the languages covering the most geographical space in the west coast of Ghana. And yet, many natives can't read, speak or write it. School children in the area where it is spoken say the fear of getting punished in school scares them from speaking it. Justice Brady traveled to Dabwase in the Wassa East District.
Which team did Michael Essien play for in England? Tells
It is a quiz day today. All the children from schools in Dabwase have come to compete for honors. Dabwase is in the heartland of Wassa, one of the largest ethnic groups in the western region. Many of the children taking part in today's quiz are all natives. A lot of them know no Wassa language at all.
Model, your major question.
After the Wassa language, I'm not familiar with it because at home there's something like Wassa.
Many people don't speak Wassa here because they are not taught to speak it. They are not allowed.
On the walls of the school, bold writings warning children against speaking Ghanaian languages. Instead, asking that speaking of English be prioritized. Those who have gone against this order have paid the price.
When the person is caught speaking the vernacular, the person is sent to the White House to clean up that place or caned.
It is mostly advised that the English language and the French should be spoken more, so that we can cope with modernity.
Wassa is the language of the Wassa people. It sounds like a transition between Fanti and Asante, and very much like the Bono language too. The Wassa people cover one of the largest land areas in the Western region, with major towns like Takwa, Bogoso, Pristia, and Mpoho. Close to 300,000 people speak it.
I am Lawrence Kwame Daniel. My friends, we all came, some left, and I said, no, I will not go to any place. I want to develop my district, because that time there were shortage of teachers, and I said, once I've been trained, I'll have to work in my district and then also develop the district. So I've spent 41 years here. I'm sad. I feel sad that Wassa language is dying. No, with Wassa, we've contributed a lot. I feel sad because my language is dying.
Wassa is not studied in school, and the people who speak it, like teacher Afusa, are concerned that their language may be on the brink.
I know this lady or this man is from Wassa here, but he is not speaking, she or he is not speaking the language because they fish are.
By the power invested in you.
Justice Peidu, Joy News, Daboase.
SIPLA as the winners. Congratulations, SIPLA. Congratulations.
And here in Accra with the AMUs, I am Mapito Sibidi. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. The AM show continues with Benjamin.
Here we go. Let's get this done and dusted. The news review right here on the AM show. Pleasure to have you come along. Thank you for staying. Joining us for that discussion, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Of course, he is a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana and a head of the Center for European Studies as well. Doc, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you, sir.
It's a pleasure having you as usual. How are you this Wednesday morning?
I'm good.
Okay. You seem to be in a very straight to the point mood this morning. There are a number of issues to discuss this morning, and I'll start with fuel prices, which are going up again. 8.29 at my last check, which was not what it was just a few days ago, which also means that what I purchased, which was at 8.16, I'm only hoping and praying if I check today, it wouldn't have gone up any further. On the back of happenings in Ukraine and what we're seeing with fuel prices, again, I had some members of parliament in the studio yesterday, and they agreed, they concurred that we shouldn't play politics with petrol prices or fuel prices and all of that. But we have a serious problem in this country. And that problem is that because of the system we run, our fuel prices can only go up. They never come down, contrary to what we meant with deregulation and the price stabilization levy. Doc, I know you're feeling the bite as well. What do you make of this? Because 8.29, that is critical. What do you think?
It's very, very unfortunate. We have said this time and again that we should reflect on this critically and find lasting solution to this. Because take it or leave it, petrol drives the economy. So once we continue to have problems with fuel prices, we are going to have problems with general goods and services, and obviously will affect productivity. So I am sure, and I have no doubt in my mind, that we need to get up, look at these things and find permanent solution. it seems to me that all that we have to this problem is just lip service. We say one thing, one point, another time, another thing is what we say. But look, we need to address this problem, because once we continue to depend on fuel, we will continue to have this problem, and the solution is what we need, a solution that will stand the test of time. I don't think it's beyond this country to find solution to this problem, except that we have not paid very serious attention to this. I am sure that we want to do the needful by looking at this issue critically and address it once and for all.
I'd like you to react to a few thoughts shared by your own colleague, the Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Ghana, Professor Raymond Atuguba, who has been sharing his thoughts at that Solidaire Ghana confab. And he has said that looking at the economic state of the country, if we don't do something quickly, we could be opening ourselves up, owing to our desperately broke economy, to coup makers and a coup, and that we ought to stem the tide of these. He also talks about the fact that the e-levy may be terrible and all of that, but we need it at this point in time to be able to shore up our economy. How do you react to those two comments? First of all, we are sitting on a time bomb when it comes to a coup, because basically we are not getting the economy right. Those are Professor Atuguba's words. And secondly, that on the back of that, we need the e-levy, bad as it is, terrible as it is, to be able to shore up our economy. Your quick reaction to those two issues.
Yes, the first one, issue about coup. It's a worrying situation. We can't run away from this. And I know and believe that it will not happen in this country. Never. Why am I saying that? This country has experienced a lot in terms of military dictatorship and whatnot. Soldiers, however, they want us to look at how they come into such situation and then tell people all manner of stories. Their regimes have never been the best that we have seen. And we have seen examples in 1966, 1972, and 1979, and the rest of it. Look, they will only come deceive us into believing that they have what it takes to turn the system around. But at the end of the day, they come back to do the very thing that they criticized the previous government of. It is true that when you look at sub-region, we have a number of coups happening, and partly blame on the economy, insecurity, and whatnot. But the Ghanaian situation, we have difficulties in our economy. I'm not sure that will warrant the stage of coups in this country, because democracy as it is, we know that one of the evils is that it has what we call reversals, that when democracy is not able to deliver the dividends that you and I want, then people want to go back to the old order. In other words, go back to authoritarian regime. But this country has seen a lot. So yes, much as we expect this democratic system to deliver the public good, and is not able to do as we expect, we are patient and we are guided by.
Are we that patient? I mean, I'm being realistic here. Aren't we burying our heads in the sand and pretending that everything is okay when things are not okay? Look, we have a living standard series. We go out there, people are bemoaning the high cost of everything, because once fuel prices go up, everything goes up. And people are saying, no, this is not what we want. This is not what we voted for. These are the people we speak to. These are the people we put on air. So are we being realistic? You and I, we don't want such a thing to happen, because both of us know the implications. But for the ordinary man, he is thinking, look, I want a solution to my problem. Yesterday, someone sent a message while I was hosting the MPs that we don't care about NDC MPP. We just want the right things to be done. So if our economy is going bonkers and we don't deal with it, and we keep saying, it's happening to every other country. Not every other country is in the state we are, even on the back of COVID. So, Doc, what is a realistic way out of this situation?
Yeah, the realistic way is what we are doing. We are trying to find solutions to the economic problem facing us. And let us not forget that, yes, problem solving is not a day thing. We need to be reflective, we need to be sober, and we need to take important decisions. And I'm not sure we have lost sight of this. Hard as it will be, I'm telling you, that is the way to go. We need to be patient. Yes, though the times are hard, we are in economic difficulties, but the coup cannot be the solution to this. All right. So we need to fix the problems well, and then ensure that people get means of livelihood. Decisions that we take should be able to stand the test of time. And we should, speed up the process. For me, that is the way to go, right? Issues about coups are not panaceas to economic problems. No, the examples in this country is enough to tell us that, look, we've seen military regimes, they promise us heaven and earth and only come to disappoint us and abuse us and run away. We must, support this democratic cause. And then, yes, I'm aware of economic challenges. I can't, be oblivious of that. But we need to be, holders of political power need to be up and doing very fast and address some of the lingering challenges in no time, so that those with long-term solution will come later. For me, that is the way to go. Right. We are also aware that there are a lot of people without jobs and all that. And I'm sure government that we have had in this Fourth Republic are doing their best, except that it's not enough. This is a wake-up call to them that they need to double their efforts so that all of us will breathe a sigh of relief. I think that is the way to go. But for me, democracy, whether it is not able to deliver the public good, it is always the best to a military rule that you cannot predict behavior of soldiers in a minute.
And that unpredictability we're seeing across the sub-region. We are seeing it in Guinea, in Mali, and in Burkina Faso, where sometimes the military leaders say one thing, and before you know it, they're doing something completely different, changing the terms, shifting the goalposts and all of that. But it goes back to the point that when democratically elected leaders don't do what they ought to do, those sometimes create complications. Suleiman Abrahima, though, of the Media Foundation for West Africa, tweeted, and he said, with or without the e-levy, Ghana will be going to the IMF. The economy is collapsed. Don't blame COVID. COVID did not only happen in Ghana. All countries, including our neighbors, were affected by COVID. It's all because of corruption, mismanagement, and PR governance. But let's move on. Let's get into the papers, because some of the other issues I want to raise can be found right here. The Daily Graphic newspaper, Let's Green Ghana. That's according to the president, and we know about that drive to plant trees in the month of June, I believe. Green Ghana Day, and of course, Green Ghana Month, if you like. That story there, a major one, very important that we take our greening of Ghana seriously. There's also Consolidating Democracy, Council of State Speaker deepen ties. Your quick reaction to that story, though, Dr. Asasante. It's on page 16. We know that the Council of State has been engaging the minority and the majority caucuses in Parliament. And yesterday, in that interaction with the Speaker, he also brought to bear, together with Nana Otuo-Soribour, the chairman of the Council of State, some of what has been happening and why, his side and he himself have had to react in certain ways. He said, while we work behind the scenes to ensure that you succeed as the Speaker, that is Nana Otuo-Soribour, we also want you to ensure that you bring your vast experience as the longest-serving MP to bear on your work as the Speaker to promote peace, harmony, and consensus building. Do you think Parliament, our 8th Parliament, can manage this? Peace, harmony, and consensus building, considering that Joe Osei-Wusu, the first Deputy Speaker, has said, if it comes to the vote again, e-levy, I will take off, my robes as first Deputy Speaker or as Speaker in the chair, and I will go and vote, which is what triggered that melee in Parliament the first time. And the minority has said, Honorable Muntaka has made it clear that they cannot guarantee that there will not be more violence if the first deputy or second deputy speakers do that. So looking at this, do you think there's been about peace, harmony, and consensus building? How do you feel is going to shape up?
Yes, before I do, there was a question on the e-levy thing.
Suleiman Abraham, right.
Yeah, and the Professor Atuguba also touched on that we need to pass this. I support that call. Why am I saying that? Because we don't have resources now. My position, a different position, is that if you look at what economists and financial experts are saying, that we should work within 0.5 and 1%. That is where I am. Beyond that, I'm afraid I don't support that. But strictly speaking, I support the passage of e-levy so that we can rake in the necessary resources to run the affairs of the state. In the state,
but if you pay attention to what Suleiman Abraham, for example, is saying, he's saying that e-levy or not, we're still going to go to the IMF. So why not? I mean, if you're going to go through the pain, why not take it now rather than later? You know, we've had some members of the MPP, their own financial team, the Finance Committee of Parliament in the past, Dr. Sibe, say that the way forward is the IMF. Is it not just because our leaders, especially when it comes to economic management, don't want to tighten their belts and do the right things? They don't want the sort of microscopic view that the IMF would bring into this.
Yes, if we are talking about, going to the IMF, if it is the option, the only option left for government, I'm not sure government will resist this. But government believes that, look, when we're able to pass e-levy, we'll be able to, deal with the problem. For me, I wait and see if this thing gets through and then see whether that can be enough for us to run the affairs of the state. So let's leave that one with them, because at the end of the day, they have the mandate to run the affairs of the state. So we expect them to do the needful and be able to be proactive and get us what we want. That is all that the ordinary man wants. Then the question of the position currently in Parliament, where we are saying that peace, harmony, consensus building is the way to go to address this problem of, heckles, bickering, and then fisticuffs that people trade in Parliament. That will address the problem. I know in theory that is it. But if you listen to what Muntaka, Honorable, and who are saying, all right, that is a stark reality. I don't support these blows and fisticuffs in Parliament. But you see, the main issue we have lost sight of this. The issue is who presides if the speaker is not around? And what is this position? Does he have the power to preside and cast his vote? That is a difficulty that we have. So I'm surprised that people are talking about, let's, manage our egos. Let's see how we can, ensure peace and all that. The point that triggers all this is whether the person who will stand in for the speaker, in the case the speaker is absent, has the power to, sit and at the same time come and vote. And I'm surprised that people are looking at this as the only way to address the problem. For me, a lasting solution will only come from where people trigger the process in Supreme Court, and the court will look at it and rule on that. That settles it. Because once you don't have this, I can assure you, it doesn't matter how you appeal to members of Parliament. Right. At the end of the day, Muntaka has served notice. We are going to have that problem on our hand anytime there is also the effort by the deputy speakers to go and sit there and preside over. Because we have heard the deputy speaker, Mr. Joe, was saying that nobody can take it from him, that he's representing a community, and he needs to also vote. That is where the battle is. So for me, the only way out is that we should get the courage and go to the Supreme Court, trigger the process, and let the court rule finally on this. And that will settle all the issues.
That will settle matters. On page 26 of the paper, the Daily Graphic, law needed to compel public officers to declare assets. That's according to Shraj. and stories to do with Ukraine. Put in measures to absorb returnee students. We know 17 of them arrived yesterday. Qatar Airways and then Turkish Airlines. And then there's Russia-Ukraine war. Ghana's position in sync with foreign policy. That's according to Professor Vladimir Inchidanso. But if you look at the raft of measures so far imposed by way of sanctions against Russia, Georgia has condemned what is happening. They have had a taste of Russian aggression, but they have stopped short of sanctioning the Russians owing to their own economic challenges. Finland, interestingly, in a tectonic shift when it comes to geopolitics, has decided to send arms to Ukraine, and they are hoping that the people there have voted for them to join NATO. U.S. President Joe Biden, in the State of the Union address, just mentioned a number of economic sanctions, even closing the air space of the United States to Russian airlines and all of that. Do you foresee that all of these eventually are going to have the impact that we suspect? In the sporting world, Russia has been banned from so many sports and all of that. What is your take on what is happening and all these sanctions?
Yeah, it's unfortunate we are in this quagmire. Sanctions, yes, they will impose, but I can assure you they will not work. Because if you look at Russia, the kind of infrastructure it has put in place and the kind of economy it has built for itself over the years, all right, it makes it very comfortable to depend on itself for a very long while. Look at the.
But how long is a long while? These matters have been debated on the BBC, Al Jazeera, and all of that. It has insulated itself, and some say nothing longer than some 4 to 6 months, because even you look at the economic sanctions, like the United States, withdrawing Russian vodka, withdrawing all kinds of things, ensuring that chips or technology needed by Russian industry to do certain things don't get to them. I mean, for how long can they do that? The Russian stock exchange yesterday could not even open because their companies are taking a big hit, a big tumble on the stock exchange. So how long is long enough for Russia to sustain this?
Yes, we know that it cannot be long forever. Yes, definitely it will end. But even if it takes 6 months, how are the Ukrainians going to survive this war? Let's look at it from the point of view that Ukrainians are fighting an unfortunate battle with a nuclear power. It's a very difficult one. How, even if it's 6 months, are they going to survive the 6 months? For me, that is where I'm worried about, all right? Because look at all the military accoutrements. Look at the resources Russia has, and they are pushing this thing on Ukraine. Very difficult situation for Ukrainians. Now listen to BBC report and all that. Some places now are in short supply of food, water, and civilians. We are getting a lot of casualties and all that. Very, very unfortunate. So it's a difficult thing. And it's my hope and prayer that diplomacy will work. And then, Western powers, let us also not lose sight of the fact that they are also in difficult times, that Ukraine is not part of NATO, and yet they are supposed to go in a certain way and provide them with a certain support. That is difficult to manage, looking at the implications that one will have on the global community at large. It's a difficult one, but Europe is managing it. It doesn't matter how difficult it is. One way that can ensure something cool for them is the issue of trying to make sure that you create a safe passage for those who want to help Ukraine to be able to go in and help. Scholars and experts have said that the airway, the space must be secured so that no flight from other places, especially Russia, can enter into the airspace of Ukraine and whatnot. I believe these are the things that experts must look at it and look at it critically, because we are in a difficult situation, and I'm worried about the situation, especially when you have a very weak states, such as weak in terms of military might, fighting a nuclear state. It's very, very difficult, and I feel so sad that Ukraine is in such a difficult situation. But the Western powers are doing their bit. They need to intensify their efforts so that at the end of the day, Ukraine can breathe a sigh of relief. Very difficult.
There is quite an imbalance when you look at the two parties, Ukraine and Russia, but Ukraine itself, not a minnow when it comes to military armaments, if you look at the stockpiles they have. But let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. GIS begins admitting Ghanaians, dual nationals with valid Ghana card. We're told 14 of them. And the Ghana Immigration Service yesterday began to admit Ghanaian and dual national passengers on a valid Ghana card to Ghana. This follows the official recognition of the Ghana card as an international civil aviation organization compliant travel document. And that is on page 7 of the paper. Community policing units to be established nationwide. That is also on page 7 of the paper. But let's get into this matter to do with Sarah Adwoa Safo. The first deputy speaker has basically disowned her. The majority leader as well. They say that they cannot depend upon her as far as the party is concerned. It's been suggested that the majority leader has intimated that nowadays he can no longer call her, that she said he should put a cease or bring some cessation to calling her and only send messages. It has also been alleged by the Member of Parliament for North Tong, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, that 1 million Ghana cedis, approximately, was spent on flying Sarah Adwoa Safo on that private jet into Ghana on the back of the e-levy vote. This is where it gets crucial for some Ghanaians. We're talking about tightening our belts, fuel prices are ticking like nobody's business, and we're squeezing, saying that we need an e-levy. On the other hand, we supposedly have put some 120,000 in her account. We've spent about 1 million Ghana cedis trying to get her into the country. Does that make any sense at all, Doc?
Let us look at it from this perspective, that this is just an allegation because we have not had proof of this. But if it happens to be true...
Well, we have the flight details and everything. When she was in the country in December. We're not talking about... We're talking about December.
Are we sure? But the question is, are we sure that it is the state that is sponsoring this? That is where the difficulty lies. Right?
So the confirmation there is critical, right?
Fine, but I agree with Mr. Ablakwa that, yes, if there are other individuals who want to know the work that they do, the resource they have, their tax obligation and all that, these are appropriate questions. But now the difficulty is that whether it is the state that is funding this. If it is the state, then it's very, very unfortunate because, look, we need resources. Look at how we are crying for resources and we get some and we are spending them in this manner. That becomes a very difficult decision for us to take and for us to accept. And I think the processes that minority, particularly Mr. Okudzeto and his friends, are trying to trigger, it's in order because we can deepen the frontiers of our democracy when we work with the institutions, the rules, the procedures, the norms, and all that. Let them come out to come and debunk or accept, and then we'll move from there.
Is that not the problem? Because usually when it comes to such, the largesse of the state and how money is expended, it seems pretty easy for officers of state, trying to get the paper trail in a country like Ghana, to tell you maybe it was privately financed when it actually could be state money, taxpayers' money. So that is the problem, isn't it? The fact that even when you want to get to the bottom of it and find out whose money, was it other people's money, like that movie? Was it our money? Or was it someone within the party who sponsored this? What do you feel is likely? Would an individual sponsor this kind of event? 120,000 in the person's account, 1 million Ghana cedis, just to get this person on ground in Parliament to vote. Where realistically would this go?
Yeah, if we are looking at people who are funding this, which Mr. Ablakwa and friends want us to believe they are pursuing that cause, it's a legitimate cause because, look, we want to find out their sources of income and the how far they honor their tax obligations. We want to know because if you have such people with such resources, then they must be in a position to discharge their tax burdens accurately and all that. So it's a legitimate call, but the difficulty is, as you have pointed out, how are we going to arrive at the truth? But I believe institutions are in this country which they are depending on, like the Office of the Special Prosecutor and whatnot. Once those institutions come in, I am sure we will get to the truth and then find a lasting solution to this problem.
Hopefully the truth will set us free. Two quick matters I'm just going to run by you. The NDC has petitioned the Commonwealth, citing the fact that its members are being targeted and all of that. A lengthy document sent to the Commonwealth of Nations. How do you react to that? Fair? Hypocritical? What do you think of that?
It's a difficult one in the sense that giving some of the things that their demands that they want the Commonwealth to do for them. I'm wondering whether the Commonwealth will be in a position to do that. For instance, come and find out whether the judicial system is operating in line with the dictates of the Commonwealth tradition with regard to the judicial processes and all that. It's going to be daunting task for Commonwealth of Nations. And the issue about the fact that, some people are being persecuted and all that, that's the opinion. But all these things are going to be somehow difficult for the Commonwealth as a body to manage it. After we have gained independence for so many years, we are on our own doing a lot of things and all that. But let us bear in mind that I'm not a lawyer, so I will not be able to know all the intricacies here. But I think that, yes, for democracy, your duty is to be able to air your views, air your grievances, to appropriate institutions that will handle them for you. So on one breath, I see it as one of the efforts to deepen the democratic process that we have on the part of the NDC. I commend them for that, but as to whether they will be successful, I don't know. I wait and see how it pans out, so that at the end of the day, those of us who are students of politics will learn from this and make informed decisions that will help this country going forward in such matters. Final
bit, Doc, on a very light note. The 2021 Population and Housing Census has revealed that some 553,065 people or couples are divorced, and 405,090 are separated or have been separated. That is a little less than 10% if you look at the divorce rate. But does that shock you that just about 10% of those who have had marital unions are no longer together in this country?
For me, it's not new because we see this time and again, except that we have not got proper data. So now that we are getting data, for me, it reflects the situation on the ground. But when you are seeing divorce, then it points to certain things. For instance, what triggers all these processes is something that is worth pursuing. Another point is that we want to also know the effects of children in such homes and how society is able to take care of them. We are going to have difficulties with managing children from such homes because, look, there is no home, so to speak, for them. And how do you ensure that they go through the socialization process to become the best for their society? A very difficult work for the state and, for that matter, social welfare and the country at large. We want, as a society, to look at this issue, not just a general issue, a social issue, but it's an issue that borders on the very survival of the state. If you want the state to survive, we need to make sure that homes are safe. Yeah, divorce may come, but let us see that when there is divorce, children who are caught in that type of trap are protected and defended by the state and given resources for them to develop to become the best of themselves and for their society. That, for me, is the critical question that we need to address.
And keep being the best you are for our Ghanaian society. Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us this morning for this conversation. We wish you the best of the day.
Thank you.
All right. Dr. Kwame Asasante there joining us for the news review. Up next, sports, where Russia is being bombarded from all angles. But the details will be brought to you by Muftau Nabida Abdullah. He's up next with sports. Do stay.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports with me, Muftao Nabila Ablai. The Ministry of Youth and Sports has directed the Ghana Football Association and the National Sports Authority to admit only spectators to various match centers who are fully vaccinated. You would recall that in December 2021, the Ghana Football Association announced that they were going to introduce no vaccination, no entry policy into match centers. And on Tuesday, the ministry released a statement saying that they wishes to inform everyone, including the Ghana Football Association, as well as the National Sports Authority, to ensure that only people who are fully vaccinated are given access to the Accra Sports Stadium, especially for the upcoming match between Accra Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko, a match which is going to be in honor of the President, Nana Akufo-Addo. It is called the President Cup, put together by the Ghana League Clubs Association. The statement added that furthermore, the wearing of face masks, the use of hand sanitizers and social distancing would also be strictly enforced. We count on the cooperation of all stakeholders, the family of the sport, that is football, and the general public to ensure strict compliance. This was a statement from the Ministry of Youth and Sports. And still on competitions in relation to Ghana football, the FA Cup, which is in this round of 16 stage, has been done. Accra Hearts of Oak has been paired with Elmina Sharks. President of the Ghana Football Association, Kurt Okriko, has been speaking about the FA Cup. He believes that it is a competition that gives opportunities to all clubs.
Draw. A draw that has pitched Dreams FC against Lagos Cities. Who picked that draw? And who picked Adriana Stars versus Chelsea? Oh my God. But that is the uniqueness of this product. That is the uniqueness of this brand. That is the uniqueness of this platform that we are speaking about. It offers opportunities to everybody to show your quality, to show your value, to show your strength, and to show what you can do. It's called the MTN FA Cup platform. We love our sports, we love our football, we love our FA Cup. And I'm particularly looking forward to the grand finale already. Because I remember the grand finale at the Esipon Sports Stadium. I remember the grand finale at the Cape Coast Sports Stadium. And I remember the unmissable up north in Tamale. I'm looking forward to the next one. Mr. Chairman, Honorable Wilson, it is time for us to show what we have. It's time for us to show quality football organization and give our people what they desire. We have the capacity to do it, and we will do it. For my colleagues from the media, I want to thank you for all the support that you've offered the Football Association. You've taken the sport to millions of homes, and you continue to support the work of our FA. Thank you. I'll continue to urge you to support the MTN FA Cup and all activities of your own football association. If the grand finale will be interesting, it will depend on you. If the quarterfinals will be interesting, it depends on you. If the round of 16 will be interesting, it depends on you. And if the semis will be interesting, it depends on your support. We need your support. And I believe that once you are here, it already gives us an indication that you will support us all the way through. Thank you very much. I wish all the teams the very best of luck, and may the best team win.
Now let's take a look at the fixtures for the round of 16 of the FA Cup, which was done on Tuesday. And as mentioned, it is going to be Elmina Sharks versus Accra Hearts of Oak. Hearts of Oak are defending champions of the competition. For the Northern Zone, we have Bechim United, who currently occupy the third place on the Ghana Premier League table. They will come against Kume United. Tamale City will play Young Apostles. Ediana Stars will come up against Brekum Chelsea, who were 2012 champions of this competition. Real Tamale United will play King Faisal. King Faisal knocked Asante Kotoko out of this tournament. And also in the Southern Zone is the defending champions Hearts of Oak. They will be hosting Elmina Sharks. Kotoko Royals will play Ebisuan Dwarfs. Sky FC will come up against Heart of Lions, and Legon Cities will play Dreams FC. These are the fixtures for the round of 16 of the MTN FA Cup. In 2023, Ghana will be hosting 53 other countries in what is expected to be the best ever African Games. This is according to the local organizing committee chairman for the 2023 Africa Games, Dr. Ofosu Asari. According to him, the country is committed to investing into facilities and in everything that will ensure that Ghanaians participating in the Games is a success.
We're very privileged and we feel very honored to have been given the opportunity to host it at this time. And even though there is COVID, we want to assure all of you that the government, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the government and the people of Ghana are really poised to make sure that we host one of the best games ever in the history of the African Games. Ghana is a very hospitable nation. The people here are very friendly, very warm, and Ghana, as you all know, is the gateway of Africa. Ghana has played its role immensely towards the unification of Africa. That was why when we gained independence, our president said the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it's linked up with the total liberation of Africa. We have every belief that the Games, as the objectives stipulate, is to promote peace, unity, friendly, and development. And we have a role to play for the youth.
It is unboxing now. On April 9, Emmanuel the Game Boy Tego will be back to the ring against Ryan Garcia. He has been speaking about how potential opponents earlier denied him an opportunity of fighting because they are afraid of him.
In your training camp, in Florida, for a long time, in our opponent not can ban like a small day came in. Ryan Garcia already, I don't need me lady, Wakela Yomo, no Miakala wins and it is small day accept or fight. Or at least Nimba holidays, I feel like I'm sharing free war. Sana she so lucky any bar, me keep on me training can be I feel like it's good opportunity to me for now. Nima prove himself much more money. Mofiamo ana our best ni manima fe mama I don't feel like this is the time ni sanima prove mama ni le I know I can fame best here Ghana she may PG many I may let me outside allow USA or fight ni ma use me can showcase here won't feel like me prepare towards for they can fight ni in cafes Ryan Garcia I won't feel like mashi mami Friday decide I can mashi Thursday she now get Sunday mashi Friday or feel like after Friday from there I've been mofiamo ba na no ni ya no alo mofiamo ba na no ni mi fe she sure I get kule ma fe press conference coming we Ghana before running mashi or I hope I can ofiano fine.
Emmanuel the Game Boy Tego is a former world champion. He won the IBO lightweight belt in 2019. Well, President of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Ibrahim Kote Nikwe, has been speaking about his belief that Game Boy Tego will go out there and make Ghana proud. According to him, there's an opportunity for the former IBO lightweight champion to lift the belt once again.
I'm no Game Boy from the national level. People outside don't understand his fighting skills, but I keep saying, if you won't complain, come and beat him. It's one of the boxers you cannot beat. Yes, and that is what is going to use to keep the world title for us. He will go there, he will beat Garcia. You just watch it. He will beat him. And he will get a chance to fight the title, and he will take the title, and nobody can beat him. I am just happy that Game Boy, now we have a Ghanaian boxer, once again in the lightweight division. And Game Boy is going to go there to control it. We used to have one, we lost him, now we have Game Boy there. So that's for that alone, I am happy.
And if you're a Chelsea fan, reports coming in indicates that Roman Abramovich is open to receiving bids to sell the club. According to the Telegraph, about 3 bids are expected to be submitted before the Russian later this week, and there's a possibility that Chelsea could be sold. And this is how we wrap up AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abla. You can head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories.
Well, time now is for us to hit the big stories. We're hitting the road, we're hitting the ground running. And we're going to be talking about bread and butter matters. Believe you me, we're going to be talking about those matters that affect you, starting with our dealing with fuel pricing in the country and beyond. It is running amok. It is getting out of hand. Let's face the situation. But how do we deal with these problems? And how about the speakership tussle, the Council of State interacting with the Speaker of Parliament and the two sides, the minority and the majority? We'll be getting into those details on the big stories this morning with Kojo Poku, who is an energy analyst. He joins us. We also have Duncan Amwa, who is with COPEC, energy analyst as well. Edward Bawa is Member of Parliament for Bongo. He's a member of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. All of them join us for this discussion, as well as Fritz Moses, Institute. He is with the Institute for Energy Security. All of them joining the conversation. But right in the studio, let me say a very good morning to Duncan Amwa, who is seated right next to me. Duncan, good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Well, why is it that when I said good morning, I say your good morning backwards?
So you made me wake up 5 a.m. Just to beat traffic, to appear, because you summoned me here. So
we are grateful that you responded to the summons and that you are here.
I don't have an option.
When we speak to you on phone and all of that, you know, or Zoom, sometimes the networks. And so today be today. Let's also acknowledge Edward Bawa, who joins us via the phone lines, Member of Parliament for Bongo, member of the Mines and Energy Committee. Honourable Bawa, very good morning to you, sir. All right. We also have Fritz Moses with the Institute for Energy Security. Good morning. Good morning, Fritz.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. All right. So let's start. Let's Mr. Bawa, are you on the line? Can you?
I'm on the line. Yes. Please.
Great. Pleasure to have you. Just hold for me. I want us to set the tone for the conversation from right here in the studio, and then I'll come to all of you to share your thoughts. So this is the picture. For me, I have moved from purchasing fuel, and I stopped short of mentioning what I purchased, from 6.9 to 7.1 to 7.33 to 8.16 Ghana cedis per litre. And now I'm being told, I wasn't at the pumps yesterday, but I'm being told that if I go today, it would have shot up to something around 8.5. At some fuel stations, Total and others, 8.29. The question is, how are we going to resolve this crisis, and when will it end? Especially as we know that in this country, fuel prices always inch up. They never come down. Duncan Amwa. But let me just ask you this. I know that there are different components that go into the pricing of fuel, from the global prices to the cost of refining and targets, revenue that people are hoping to get on it, distribution and marketing costs. But what are the other things that go? I know taxes as well. Break it down for us. I want us to do that exercise today. What goes into the pricing of fuel?
So you have 3 stages of pricing. The first one is called ex-refinery position. Ex-refinery means you've processed crude into the different components or variables, petrol, diesel, kero, jet, fuel, all of the other products that you could get out of crude. Once you get the refining done, in calculating ex-refinery, you probably are looking at the cost of crude, right?
Right.
Plus the cost of refining, which is what they call tolling.
Right.
So that will give you the cost of the refined product. Crude having moved from, the base product to a refined product. Then you get it to probably the depot. So the second stage is called ex-depot. At that stage, government is saying, okay, I need taxes of the product. So I'm adding tax A, B, C, D. That will take you to ex-depot position. Then from ex-depot, you are looking at ex-pump.
Right.
So that's the final stage.
Right.
And that's where you add...
That is where you and I go and
that's what eventually that's what we pay for.
Right.
So 3 stages: ex-ref, ex-depot, and then ex-pump.
Ex-pump, right.
So ex-ref, crude, and then the tolling, I mean, whatever it costs to process crude. So the actual cost of the product, that is it. Ex-depot, you are looking at taxes having been added at the depot position. Government says, okay, I need tax A, B, C, D. And then ex-pump, you are looking at margins, markups, whatever the fuel companies would also need in order to be able to keep
because
running.
they need to get their margin to stay in business.
To stay in business,
right.
Yes, because they have made an investment that they would need to pay pump attendants for utilities and all that. So
I mean, even GOIL, the state-run oil company, would need to make some markups because, I mean, SNIT invests in there, and ordinary Ghanaians also have their interest. And they must keep running, like you're saying.
And they must keep running, they must pay pump attendants, and they must pay for light, they must pay for water used, they must pay for any financing costs that comes with building those stations or facilities or running them. So they add their margins, and then you come to the ex-pump price, which is the final figure that you see at the pumps. In all of this, however, there are 3 other significant variables. The stages of pricing set. When you come to the variables that also determine final pricing, ex-pump, there are 3 of them.
Okay, so 3 variables in addition, I mean, from the start, and then when it comes to 3 stages, and when it comes to the final part, there are another 3 variables.
You are looking at 3 variables that are encapsulated in the stages.
Right.
But they are very dominant.
Which are what?
Okay. The ex-refinery price, plus or minus, give or take, if you don't refine in-country, you would need to import, right? Because your refinery is not working. So you go to another refinery in another country to say, okay, I'm buying 40,000 metric. And then the cost of logistics, your insurance, freight, whatever it costs to move the product, I mean, to your country, FOB, is now what ex-refinery price will mean. So if you are refining at all, right, let's say Ghana's crude, you decided to refine at all, then TOR will charge their tolling in addition to the cost of the crude, right, and give you ex-refinery. But if you are buying from Rotterdam, Rotterdam will charge their tolling in addition to the crude, but you would still need to pay for freight, you need to pay for insurance, you need to pay for whatever demurrage.
Which is why you would want to have your own refinery.
Exactly. That's why you would want,
and maybe you rather export rather than have to bring it
and cut back the logistical costs.
Right.
But unfortunately, we are not refining, so you would need to necessarily import from Europe. Now, importing from Europe, you cannot go and say, I'm buying 10,000 metric. I have cedi, 10 million Ghana cedi. So you would need to convert your local currency into the dollar, the greenback, and then take it to Europe and bring the fuel. Now, the fuel gets to Ghana, and Ghana government says, look, I have only one legal tender, which is the cedi.
Right.
So you cannot trade in the dollar at the pumps. So that's where the conversion, the cedis exchange to the dollar, comes to play. If I have to sell and get my $10 million or Ghana cedi, 10 million Ghana, if previously the dollar was, say, 4 cedis to $1, it means that I would need about 10 million to get $2.5 million. If I forecast that at the time I'll be done selling, right, I probably am going to need about 11 million because the cedi is not stable.
Right.
To get the same 2.5 million, maybe the cedi to $1 would have moved from, say, 4.0 to about 4.2. The 0.2 in there, if I don't factor into my pricing, I would owe the supplier and I cannot pay.
Wow.
So they do what they call the forward rates, whatever.
Wow.
The forward forex. So that is added to ex-refinery position. So those 2 key components, how much you getting the product for FOB, probably Rotterdam here, and then the cost of your city's depreciation as far as your knockouts or net-offs is concerned.
Right.
Then when you are done, you come to add the taxes that we had discussed earlier.
Exactly. Which have been slapped on our petroleum
Exactly.
products.
The taxes, margins, markup, levies, and all of them. You slap all of that, you still come to the same ex-pump price position. But those two variables mentioned earlier, quite critical. The taxes, very local, right? The two variables, international market price. Ghana cannot determine how much a barrel of crude would sell for. We cannot determine how much a metric ton of, let's say, kero or petrol or diesel would sell for. We don't determine that.
Right.
So that is external. Then the CD dollar is quasi, internal, quasi external. How much of the reserves you have to be able to give to people who import to pay their suppliers.
Now, the Bank of Ghana, some experts, economists are saying that put out more dollars, like we usually do, but we know it's not a sustainable measure.
But that is only subject to how much Bank of Ghana has
available.
Itself. Exactly.
As a central bank.
Yes, subject to. If it has just $1 billion, it cannot put in 5 billion. So it will put in what it has. So it's semi, controlled. But the taxes, which is the third component, is purely a finance ministry job. So you would realize before we went into the deregulation proper, finance ministers will stand in parliament and read the budget and indicate how much fuel will be sold for, how much transport fares will be for. After deregulation, finance ministers still do get to go to parliament and either introduce, increase, or decrease taxes.
Right.
So taxes is within our domain, jurisdiction. The CD dollar is quasi. Partially, we can manage it. Sometimes when people are importing so much, it's difficult to say you won't pay the supplier, and there's pressure on the dollar, the few dollars in the system. So if you put the three together, question is asked, can we manage these three such that the people of Ghana are not inconvenienced? If you do throw that question to most petroleum economists, the answer will be a yes, you can manage.
So the question is, why are we not able to manage the situation? Let me bring in Kojo Poku, an energy analyst as well. Kojo, good morning to you.
For you, and good morning to my brother Duncan and all your listeners.
Hi,
right. So Duncan has done us the favor of breaking down what exactly the fuel components are, what goes into the breakdown of when I go to a fuel pump and want to purchase fuel, what goes into that. But why has deregulation not worked for us the way we expected it to? And at the bottom of the matter is the fact that we have a lot of fine policy in this country that yields nothing. Why has deregulation not given us the results we sought when we went into that?
Well, we all praised deregulation, and most of us were champion of deregulation because they're under recovery for the industry, where government couldn't find money to pay the subsidies they promised, was beginning to basically make companies unprofitable. So all the industry players were very excited that in 2015, deregulation was introduced. We don't really have a full deregulation, because if you look at all these windows that we do every bi-weekly, we do a window. That is not proper deregulation. It's just a way where MPA now gets these companies to do what you call a predictive price of which is not binding. Okay, so for me, I have said that I don't know why MPA does those calculations, because it's not binding. It's really every company can price as they wish. Now, for me, the reason deregulation has not worked is not when we have upward adjustment, it's when we have downward adjustment. Whenever the prices go down, the OMC do not pass on the downward reduction, and they now would rather increase their, what Duncan explained, their marketers and dealers margin. And their excuse is that, they were squeezed on their profit, and they are trying to recover what they call losses, which is where I have a problem with. As a businessman, I have no problem with people trying to recover money. So upward adjustment when international prices go up, yes, they have to increase the prices to be able to buy, provide that service to you and be able to buy more to replace what they have sold. So I have no problem with when the prices are going up and how deregulation works. My problem lies in the fact that when deregulation does not enforce that the OMCs now also have to pass on the savings that we are supposed to get when prices are going down. Today, we are seeing the Brent at 106 as at yesterday's trading. So let's say in a couple of months' time.
Actually, currently, Kojo, it has hit $111 per barrel. $111.
So current $11 maybe through, but these are for. And let me say something. These 1,111 is not for current delivery. It's for delivery in April and May. Okay, and that is a way that for me, the system in Ghana also needs to be looked at well in terms of how pricing is done, because we use future prices to determine current prices. Maybe because the companies need to be able to replace the products that they are selling in a way it makes sense. But what they're using, if you say that today, plat is this, maybe the plat price you have today is for 2 months delivery, okay?
Right.
We normally would have bought the current price. We have probably bought the current product about a month or two ago before it got into Ghana, before it got to your pump. So the 111 that you are looking at is for April or May delivery, okay? So now the point I was making is that I don't have a problem, and we have to educating Ghanaians on the fact that when there is war in the world, prices of products go high. But now, let's say 2 months from now, these 111 prices now come to, let's say, 80, a reduction of about $30, okay? Then you realize that maybe the differential in the forex is not that much, maybe a marginal. But you realize that the prices from the OMCs is still high. It has not reduced equivalent by $30. That is where my problem is with deregulation. Then when you go and ask the OMC, why have you not passed on the savings to Ghanaians? What they will tell you is that, when prices were high, we were squeezed on our margins, so trying to recover. What are you trying to recover? I honestly don't believe that anybody will take a license from MPA, pay over $500,000 a year, and it is not by force to be an OMC, okay? Now, you go into OMC business willingly. You agree to pay $500,000 a year, and you're telling me that you're making losses year on year? Rubbish. It's not true. Okay? So that is the problem. The problem is that I have said, and my brother Duncan has also added his voice, that we should cap the OMC margin. If deregulation
it's easier said than done, isn't it? It's easier said than done. I mean, we even saw when government intervened and Goyle's leadership was called into a meeting, chief of staff and all of that. Their prices are back up again, even the state producer.
Why is it easier said than done? When we say cap the dealers and marketers margin, it is not something you just get up and do. One of the requirements of licensing is that you provide your audited accounts to MPA. Okay? So MPA can analyze what every business needs to run. Now, I have always said that fuel, petrol, and diesel should be regulated products. It is more or less an essential product, very important to the economy. So it shouldn't be a free-for-all product. It is not like somebody in Abusioka is selling shock absorbers or brake pads. Okay? What you need is certain tight regulations in the profit that is made on these products.
Right.
As it stands now, there is no such thing.
Okay.
So anybody can make any profit they want.
Right. Kojo, just hold it there for me. Hold it briefly. I'll come right back to you. And Honorable Bauer and Collins, just hold it for me. Duncan Amwa is on a time leash, so let me just do this with him, and I'll come to the rest of you gentlemen, so we share our thoughts on this. But Duncan, so moving forward, we are where we are. It is what it is. How do we get out of this, e-levy or no e-levy? I mean, I'm just throwing in that because you know of the dynamics. Some have said that if we don't have it, we might slap the taxes on petroleum products. So what is a practical way of getting out of this? Is it what Kojo Poku is saying about the OMCs and cutting their cost and profits?
We've sent memos to the Ministry of Finance earlier. We're of the similar position that government should ease on taxes. But looking at the economic position of the country currently, it might not be prudent to ask for taxes to be taken out. However,
to be taken out,
to be
of the petroleum component.
Yes, it might not be prudent. They will not do it simply.
They will not do it.
Yes.
Is it that they can't do it, or
however, what we need to draw their minds to, again, and I would repeat this 1,000 times over, the government is also on the market. It does not import fuel. The government is buying at the same rate that you and I are paying for. The police vehicles that we are fueling as of this morning, a lot across the country, right? Government doesn't have a filling station. It doesn't import fuel. So whatever the price is, government will pay for it. Whatever the tax build-up is, government will pay for it. So invariably, government is overtaxing its own self, because if you are consuming 5% of the market, right? Whatever taxes the market pays, you would also pay. It would increase government expenditure. We are gaining a lot of windfalls because, like you rightly indicated, it's $110.6411 currently. We had budgeted projected to get 61.25
right
for 2020. You've already
That's almost twice what we budgeted.
Almost a double. Call the BDCs, call importers, call oil traders, right, to a meeting and say, look, we realize prices are getting out of hand. We have made some substantial savings here, right, because we are doubling what we are also producing to export. Just call them. What is the difference? $18 million. Okay, we've made about 40. We can give you the 18, sustain prices, don't go and increase it. When you do this, you are managing. But when you sit and think that you should collect the windfall monies that is being generated,
right,
and also collect the full stream of taxes, that
especially when the stabilization levy is also not cushioning the
it's not cushioning. You are doing nothing. You are definitely going to leave your economy hanging. And as it stands, government itself will be the one that will complain the most at the end of the accounting year. Because again, like I indicated, if it was 5 cedis, what you buy it for the police, the liters won't change. A car that takes 100 liters will still take 100 liters, even at 8 cedis, right? But you will pay more as a state. So eventually, not subsidizing or not realizing the need now to step in is going to cost all of us. It's costing the ordinary people already. When you go to the pumps, for those who needed 500, 300 to fill their tanks, today when you go, you need to pay more, almost double that amount. The ordinary person would feel it and so will complain immediately. But it will take government almost 11, 12 months, right, to realize that it has overshot its expenditure simply because it sat unconcerned. It put the 10 fingers to Nedemrifa, like they say in Chi, right, and watched. Things are going to get bad. And I have said this, I'll repeat.
You think things are going to get worse?
They are going to get worse.
What is your projection?
See?
We're already past 8. Are we going to hit 9?
We would hit 9 before March comes to an end.
We'll hit 9 cities before March.
We would hit 9. It is the easiest calculation anybody could do. You were at 102, right, a few days ago. You've done 111 as of this morning. Ukraine, Russia don't seem to be ending any moment soon. Ukraine is calling for backup from the EU, right? US is also looking at ways it would. So,
in other words, as long as this goes on, it's just going to mean worse.
You recall we spoke some time ago and I said we could hit the 120 in no time.
Right.
Mark this. Probably in a week from now, $120 is quite feasible. And once you reach that, and also considering the pressure on your city, 9 Ghana cedi at the end of March is very close. Very, very close. And if the finance ministry is listening, this is the time to act because your economy is going to be badly damaged as a result of these fuel price increases. Transport operators have done 15.
They are threatening.
I sit on a platform with all of them. They are complaining bitterly. Now they say they increased fares and 3-4 days later we have increased fuel prices again. Yes, it's legitimate. So everything is just rising by the day. Food, everything. And I don't think that this is what the economy needs. So if you are managing Ghana's finance at this point, you should be having crunch meetings with the likes of Kojo Poku.
Right.
The likes of Bawa, the likes of everybody
Right.
that is interested.
I mean, it's a national problem.
You should have a thorough discussion. What do we do? Let us put the two streams, upstream, downstream, on the table. Look at the revenue expectation and what is being realized currently.
Right.
You may be able to do certain net offs. But if you sit and say, well, there's nothing we can do, the state doesn't have money. The state will cough out money that it doesn't have eventually to UTAG. It will cough out money to the teachers. It will cough out money to the nurses, the doctors. Because eventually, labor will be up in arms very shortly. Because they can't take their take-home pay home. There's a lot of crisis building up.
Reminds me of the transport unions and the fact that they want cost of living allowance. But thank you so much, Duncan Amwa, for giving us your time. You're on a tight one this morning, but thank you so much for giving us some of your time.
I shall be back very soon.
Right. Kojo, so let me quickly come to you. I'll give you a minute because I had to interject. And especially even considering the fact that we're told and we've seen the government machinery being rolled, and you go to certain places, cars are running. Even when people are, having functions and the rest, for hours, cars are running, V8s are running. Kojo, your final point, and then I'll come to Edward Bauer.
Well, the person whose Land Cruiser is questioning while the person is in a meeting because the air conditioning is on. That's not my fault. I mean, they get all these coupons, and all government appointees get these coupons. And so they don't know how it hurts. And that's why they probably don't see the urgency, as Duncan said, to call a crunch meeting to see how we resolve this problem. Look, like I said, in every situation, there is a need to act and probably throw the book out of the window and look at the streetwise and the street approach. In the UK, the business secretary, who is the Ghanaian, Honorable Quacking, has to now put a cap on the energy prices, because the rate at which the energy prices were going in the winter was basically going to hurt the poor and then the elderly in the UK. So they put a cap on the energy prices. I think we need drastic measures to basically say the Ghanaian. Yes, when the going is good, we all know that we can get a little bit more, but this time the going is bad. And when the going is bad, it needs drastic measures and streetwise measures. Like Duncan said, to sit, abate, and think that you don't care and the government doesn't have money will not resolve this problem. And the longer it goes on, you might act too late and you might not get a solution at that point.
Let me come to Honorable Bauer, who is on the who is a member of Mines and Energy Committee. I want us to look at Parliament's role in resolving all of this. But first, I want to take a look at whether it makes sense as a country in the position we find ourselves, especially as we are producing the black gold now, and how we have treated or managed TOR, the Tema oil refinery. Because we could have saved ourselves a lot of the shocks we are feeling now if we had managed TOR better. So I want you to briefly address that before we go into Parliament's role in resolving all of this.
Good morning to Kojo and then Duncan. First, I will address the issue of TOR. So even assuming that TOR was running smoothly, and assuming that TOR could produce the capacity, the consumption levels that Ghana has, TOR will have to procure crude, and therefore the price of crude in the international market would have definitely affected even TOR's level of procurement in terms of the amount of money the outlay they would have to put. Because when you hear of, like Duncan was talking earlier on, when they talk about the ex-refinery price, it is either from your own local refinery, after they have done all the cost in processing the crude and going through the fractionations to get the various petroleum products, or the issue of importing the refined products and you including freight and what have you. So irrespective of whatever the case is, you would have still had the issue of prices of crude oil going up in the international market, affecting our export prices. So that is something that you need to do. But of course, obviously, we could have, and even if you look at all our petroleum agreements, we have what we call compulsory supply of crude oil by IOCs, and for that matter, the Ghana National Oil Company, to the states in times of what they call it, challenges. But that being said, the catch there is that even if the IOCs were supposed to produce crude for you to be able to process in Ghana because you have a refinery, they will sell it to you at the going market rate. So that is part of the condition in all the petroleum agreements that are there. And so it tells you that, yes, the refinery would have been better, or would have been better for us. It may inch the price a bit down. But my brother, if you look at the factors, beyond just the international price that we do not have control over, because there are other geopolitical issues, the issue of weather, a lot of other factors that can hinge on that. There's also the element, there are two elements that I think the government could have looked at very seriously. And because of those things, we are having challenges. One is the exchange rate. Duncan had explained to you very clearly that, look, they buy the products in dollars. They come and sell in cedi. So anytime there's a depreciation of the cedi against the dollar, what happens is that there is what we call forex loss. The forex loss is a liability that the OMCs or the whatever the bond distributors or other things will not shoulder. So it's a liability that will be part of the cost that will go through. So it becomes a pass-through cost that will be reflective at the pump station. And so your issue of stabilizing your currency is important. We are just exaggerating and thinking that, because of the prices that are going up, in the international market, that is the only contributing factor to our current situation. But you and I know that is not true. Just in the last 2 months, the cedi has depreciated about 7.6% against the dollar.
Right.
Indeed, it tells us very clearly that it's now the worst performing currency in Africa. So it gives you a fair idea that it is not just the prices of crude in the international market that are going skyrocketing that is causing this problem. The other problem is the fact that our cedi is not performing well against the major currency. So it is something that government will have to look at. Government will have to work with the central bank to see how they can stabilize the cedi, and then to stop the downward movement of the cedi. So that's one thing. The second point, and my brother, that's the part I'm trying to make, is that the government must also begin to start looking. Duncan had made a point that made a lot of sense. Because of the fact that prices of crude are going up, we are also making a lot of windfalls upstairs. When I use the upstairs, I'm talking about the upstream in terms of export, and even in terms of our taxes that we'll get from our IOC because of the amount of money now they have to get as a result of the high prices of crude.
Right.
The question is that if you look at even the 2022 budget, the benchmark revenue was hinged on $62 per barrel. So it means that government had made its own projection that if prices did not go below $62 per barrel, we will meet our targeted petroleum revenues target. I don't know what I'm making sense.
Right, you are.
So what it then meant was that anything beyond $62 per barrel was going to be a windfall for government. And so as we speak now, because we have moved now into the neighborhood of 100, it tells you that government is making huge windfalls upstairs in terms of export and in terms of taxation and other things on on the IOC.
But school me here, if you may. Yes, we did project $61 to $62 in terms of the pricing. And now we're having this windfall. But did we have a plan for what we would do with the windfall? Is that not part of the problem?
No. So it is not a question of the plan. You see, you are looking at revenues that are available to you. I'm using that, and I'm going to explain why I made that point. That you have a situation where you have a windfall. So you are getting money that actually you didn't budget for. You felt that you didn't budget for. So you are making those money. So you then come into the downstream. And then you come to the downstream and say, these monies were meant to create revenues for me. If that is the case, if I'm making such amount of monies upstream, then in the downstream where my people are supposed to be consuming, let me see how I can bring that down. If I bring that down, it doesn't affect my petroleum revenues. I know what I'm making sense.
Right, you are.
It doesn't affect my petroleum revenues. So government can tell, and I'm making a point. If you look at, Duncan gave you the three major stages of our pricing.
He did,
the ex-refinery price. He gave you the ex-depot, and he gave you the the ex-pump pricing. Now, if you look at the post the ex-refinery, all that we have there are taxes. And my brother, with your permission, you have the energy debt recovery levy, you have the road fund levy, you have the energy fund levy, you have the price stabilization recovery levy, you have sanitation pollution levy, you have energy sector recovery levy, you have special petroleum tax, you have primary distribution margin, you have bus margin, you have fuel marking margin. These are all packed between the ex-depot and the ex-refinery. And these are all attributable to government. My question I then ask is that, if these things are supposed to be used in funding specific activities, and that would now, because you have no control over the the international price, and for that matter, the ex-refinery, you have no control over that because that is set up by companies. Then one of the things you should have been looking at is that these windfalls you are getting upstream in terms of the sale of the good can make up for any reduction in this level of taxes that we have. I don't know if I'm making sense. So that your targeted revenue, petroleum revenues, will still not suffer. But at the same time, you will be cushioning your citizens. You'll be cushioning businesses. You'll be cushioning the cost of transportation. That has a cascading effect on all other things.
Right.
And so your question, you ask, what will be the role of Parliament can be in this regard? The role of Parliament in this regard is purely advocacy, and I will say why I say it's advocacy. The reason is that Parliament does not set taxes. Taxes are brought to Parliament for approval, and they are set up by government and then brought to Parliament for approval. Two, Parliament does not set up the monetary policy, and for that matter, control our currency, manage our currency. It is the central bank that does that. And then the last but not the least, Parliament does not also set up the prices of crude in the international market. So the only
I do get, Honorable Bawa, I do get the fact that Parliament doesn't do all of these things. It is the executive that is in control of the purse strings. But you have some oversight in terms of being legislators. You can put in place certain measures to enforce accountability, right? I mean, in an instance like this, is Parliament going to sit down like a very docile arm of government and not react in any way? You have powers to invite ministers, like the finance minister, to Parliament to answer certain questions. I mean, something must be done, because if we follow on this trajectory, like Duncan said, it only means one thing. We could hit $120 per barrel very soon. That will be reflected on the ex-pump price at the fuel stations. And guess who's going to pay? All of us. So how do we resolve it?
Unfortunately, Ben, the challenge is that our constitution states very clearly that Parliament does not have power. Remember that all these taxes that we have on the petroleum products are supposed to be underpinned by laws. So there are bills that are brought, that are enacted into laws, and it is that empowers the agency to be able to exact those taxes on us. The question is that the Constitution tells us very clearly that Parliament cannot pass a law that would compromise the existing revenue levels of government. So that's what the Constitution makes. So we do not. So that's why I use the word that at best is advocacy. At best is to ask for information. So, for example, I could get up and say, I'll file an agent question to ask the Minister of Finance, in the face of all these challenges that we have, would he consider the reduction of that? And all he will come to do is to tell us his position. But Parliament, for example, going so much to say that, look, we are based on these things, we want to contemplate removing, for example, the SPT, because the SP, that's the special petroleum tax, has a big issue for them.
Right.
You do not have powers. The Constitution bars you from it. And that's why I say it is an issue of advocacy rather than powers.
Point made there, Bawa. Let me just hold it there and bring in Fritz Moses.
If your car is not driving, move to the side. What are you doing here?
Okay, quite a bit of a tussle out there. Fritz Moses is with the Institute for Energy Security. My apologies for keeping you so long. I just wanted us to look at some of the basic issues, what goes into pricing, why we find ourselves where we are. And now from Parliament, and it appears our hands are even tied. We're fettered, no way forward. But from where you sit, as an institute that churns out policy on these matters as well, suggestions about what we ought to be doing, what do you see in terms of any different perspective to what has already been said, and how do you feel we can emerge from this situation, Fritz?
All right. Thank you once again. I think a lot has been said by Kujo, by Duncan, of course also the Honourable MP. At IES, what we believe and what we have been saying for quite some time now, beginning earlier last year, was that yes, there's a better option for us to look at the windfall that government is making from our upstream sector, in a sense that where we are selling fuel at higher prices or oil at higher prices on the international markets, we are rather feeling a negative effect locally by consumers. And of course, Duncan has mentioned also the fact that the government itself is also feeling the pain of it. What we believe is that it will be necessary and important for government to listen. I believe this even presents a better opportunity for government to actually do something about the current price hikes that we've been experiencing over the past few months. Because in essence, the options remain clear: increase the prices on the international markets for oil. Earlier on, we had been saying in the past few months that government could look at ways of cutting down on some of the tax components in the price orders. We believe it's still on the table for government to consider. Again, it will come on the back of government, of course, also squeezing itself in its expenditure, because at the end of the day, if revenues are increasing and government expenditure keeps rising and remains stagnant as it's been for several years, then of course, the government will not be the revenue that it's looking at. In a position where government is looking at increasing revenue, you should also look at how we can also squeeze itself or reduce its expenditure to be able to undertake the policies, and of course for consumers and citizens to also benefit from that increased revenue. Otherwise, we don't see how continually looking at innovative ways of increasing revenue and still maintaining the expenditure rates the government has been a helpful matter in this situation.
So pretty interesting. It makes for very interesting reading. If you go back just a few months, and we're still in the first part of the year, you would realize that our country has been in the top 10 in terms of countries that are selling fuel products at the highest, in Africa or on the continent. And now we're faced with, the situation in Ukraine and Russia, and we have the e-levy, which has also not been passed, and we're being told that it also has its own implications on the economy. So from where you sit, is there any hope? What Duncan said about the fact that very soon we're going to see oil prices hitting $120 to the barrel, $120 to the barrel, and that prices can only go up. That by end of March would likely be at 9 cities. Is that reflective of what you have been gathering, the information you've been gathering as well?
Well, we certainly don't see prices going after on the local markets. But then, of course, the indications point to an upward rise again, of course, on the international market. That will reflect locally. We expect this trajectory to continue perhaps to the end of the second quarter of the year. But then again, it's all boded well for the government, for us consumers, if all stakeholders, as I mentioned earlier, the BDCs, the importers, are all engaged by government officials to consider how it can also, as a government, cater for some of the costs that they're incurring. Because at the end of the day, if prices are rising on the international markets, if demand is rising, OPEC Plus is not looking at increasing its scheduled output of $400,000, 400,000 barrels per day today when they meet. It wouldn't happen that they will increase it, even there have been several calls from the US, from the international EIA and all the other institutions that are calling for extra barrels of crude on the market. We don't see that happening anytime soon. And so, of course, with demand increasing, you'll still see prices are rising, and that will reflect locally negatively too. So we we shouldn't, I believe governments would really be listening now because of the extent of the rises that we've been seeing. And of course, also the depreciation of the city that has not been helpful in the markets at all.
So your projections would be exactly what? Let's say by end of March, what are your projections?
If you look at by end of March, it may rise above 8 cities, 50 pesos, but we are very bearish on it reaching 9 cities. We believe it will reach around 8 cities, 50 pesos for some of the waves.
Right. Kojo, and grateful you stayed with us, Kojo Poku. So we've digested all of these issues and we've looked at the different components. What in the short to medium to maybe even long term can we do in respect of TOR, for example? Can we do in respect of the exchange rate? Can we do on the taxes that we've slapped on petroleum products? That one, it appears there's not going to be any movement on, especially as we are where we are in terms of the economy. And can we do to ensure that we have some proper regulation of pricing so that these wild fluctuations don't keep happening? Because one thing we can bet, when fuel prices go up, they never come down. Deregulation is not working. So for you, what do we do in the short to medium term?
TOR has been sitting idle for the last almost a year, and it's been used as a political football. As I always keep saying, nothing has been done. I heard a new board is being sworn in today, and maybe they can start work. But obviously, from what is on the horizon and the problems of TOR, the pertinent problems are not short-term solutions. There's medium to long-term, because the huge investment needed for TOR, it's not a short-term thing. Now, whether anybody can go in today and start getting crude next month, I know they've been trying for the last 6-7 months, and they still can't get crude. Okay, since the IMC went in there, Interim Management Committee went in there, they never refined because they could not get crude, because they were not in the right position to be able to negotiate crude into the refinery. So they've been in there for 8 to 9 months and nothing. Okay, so TOR, I don't think there's a short-term solution to TOR. Medium to long-term, possible. In terms of some of these things, last year, January, myself, Duncan, and IES wrote a petition to the MP and said that, look, the way the deregulation is working does not favor the average down here. Please, let's do something about it. There was a committee that was set up, okay? We went into meetings, we did presentations. MPA held a forum at Fiesta Royale. After that, nothing. We've not heard anything. My sources tell me that, well, they are taking their recommendations through the levels of government, ministry, cabinet, and stuff like that. But I would have thought that we, the people who petitioned, that we wanted a review and something done, you should have come back to us and said, look, after the committee started, these are what we said. You brought petitions, you brought your presentations, but this is what we are presenting. And we would have known what's going on. But nothing. We are still in the dark what they decided. The issues are not knee-jerk approaches, and everybody is very clear. I pray that the powers that be, which is the U.S. and the European Union, can put pressure on the OPEC countries to increase production. If that happens, then we might get some respite, okay? Because the Europeans and the American economy also cannot stand a $120 a barrel economy, because we would all face the same problem. So the problem is not Ghana specific. We're going to have problems, putting the fact that we just came out of COVID and economies are trying to recover, okay? So let's hope that we don't get to the 120 and the Americans and the EUs will be able to put pressure on OPEC countries to increase their production. Those are some of the things that can help the situation. If not, then we all have to brace ourselves for the impact.
Right. I would like to say a big thank you to Fritz. Fritz, thank you for joining the conversation. I just want to keep, Kojo, do stay with us. Yes. Duncan Amwa had to take leave of us, but Kojo, do stay with us, and we still have Edward Bauer. Fritz, thank you so much for joining the conversation. We're moving it a notch from here. But before I bring in the bit about the Speaker of Parliament, just to wrap this leg of the conversation, Edward, so with all that you've said, you're basically saying that there's no way forward as far as Parliament is concerned. The Finance Ministry must shoulder, the situation. We must deal with it from the central bank as well. And that's the only way forward, because the taxes are not going anywhere, are they?
Yeah, so the taxes are not going anywhere. But in the course of the discussion, I think that, Ben, you have given me an idea to at least know what is the government's position now on what they call it, the level of taxes vis-a-vis the windfalls you are making. And so I believe that today in Parliament I'll file an urgent question to the Minister of Finance, because if you look at
You believe today you'll file an urgent question in Parliament?
An urgent question, yeah.
Are you going to file it, or do you believe you will?
I will do that. I'll share a copy with you even if I finish. I can share a copy with you.
Right.
And the reason being that if you look at the three factors that affect the export prices, two of them are within the domain of the Minister of Finance. That's the issue of taxes and the issue of managing the CV. And so he will be in the position to be able to tell Ghanaians what the position of the government is in regards to this. So it's an idea that has come up there. But that being said, I still think that, and this is my personal opinion, I still think that there are certain taxes, and I said this the last time when I was on your studios, that there are certain taxes that if you take them off, it would not affect the services for which they are supposed to fund. I've always stated this. I have indicated that if the issue of the SPT, that's a special petroleum tax, was supposed to augment petroleum revenues in terms of targets of petroleum revenues, it has at least its usefulness. At the time that we introduced it, crude prices were as low as $30 per barrel in the international market. And that's why we brought in there to plug the holes that we were talking about. Now we're talking of a neighborhood of about 111, as you stated. So it clearly indicates that it has at least usefulness. So it's a recommendation I think that government can take a second look at. The second point that is also very important for me to look at, and I stated that every assembly in Ghana pays on a quarterly basis 120,000 Ghana cedis for sanitation fee. And so if every place in Ghana falls under either a municipal assembly, metropolitan assembly, or district assembly, it means that the cleaning of those areas have already been taken care of. If that is the case, what is the business of us having that 10% on for what we call sanitation and pollution levy? And so that can equally go. But now, the other point that I need to make, and this one we should be very frank with each other. And the issue is this whole idea of excess capacity charges that are charged on our power product, our petroleum product. And the issue is that they are supposed to use it to retire the excess capacity charges that we charge. As we speak, there has not been any indication that there's excess capacity in the system. There has not been any indication. Indeed, last time we asked the minister to give us where exactly the excess capacity is coming from, we didn't know where it was coming from, because you can only declare excess capacity when you declare availability.
Right.
And most often than not, any time that even one plant goes up, mostly we run into trouble. And so it tells you very clearly that excess capacity is just a sham. And the last time we also called the Minister of Finance to come and tell us how much they are paid for excess capacity. What they did was that they came and bundled us some figures to us that these were things they had paid to some particular IPP. The truth of the matter, my brother, listen to me very well. The truth of the matter was that the Chamber of Independent Power Producers had come out to say that no, those things were not excess capacity. They were charges, the payment for power used. So it tells you that 20% they put on petroleum products as the energy sector recovery levy.
Right.
It's something that can go out. So I think I believe that there must be a debate around these things. And that's why I agree with Duncan when he indicates that the government must sit down today. It's an issue about the lack of consultation and lack of trying to take ideas from all other sides. Let's all sit and see what can we still keep on our price builder, that what can we take out from our price builder that will not affect any other person. So that's the angle that we should be.
Okay. Let me just chip in. Let me just chip in this bit just to wrap up finally on this. The urgent question you're going to pose, is it going to be directed at the energy minister or the finance minister? Which of them?
No, it's going to be directed at the finance minister. And I know why I deliberately said the finance minister. The reason being that out of the three, there are three factors that affect the prices.
Right.
Prices of crude oil in the international market.
Mm-hmm.
Two, the exchange rate, and three, taxes and levies. if you look at the exchange rate and taxes, they fall under the Minister of Finance. The price of crude, the Energy Ministry does not actually, control that. And so the appropriate minister to handle this will be the Minister of Finance.
Right.
To be able to answer those questions for us.
All right. Thank you very much. So I just, in the next few minutes, just very briefly, I want us to take a quick stab at this issue to do with the Council of State calling on the Speaker of Parliament to deepen the sort of interactivity or consensus on the floor of Parliament. But don't you forget, we'll return to the energy conversation, fuel prices, because we'll be coming to a fuel pump near you. Bakojo Poku, starting with you, does this add anything? Does it change anything? The sort of body language, the rhetoric we've seen from Parliament, and, the majority side has dug its heels in when it comes to something like the e-levy. And we've heard the First Deputy Majority Leader state categorically that the next time the e-levy is tabled, he will derobe and he will exercise his right to vote. We've heard from the minority side say that that will not happen and that we can't guarantee that we'll not see violence again. The Council of State stepping in, is it from your end going to resolve anything? Will it change anything?
No, it would not. Okay, look, let me tell you, and the little I know about how Parliament run, and if I'm wrong, my brother Bawa can correct me. The majority leader, who is the charge of government business in Parliament, is more like the coach of a football team. Every coach would have his 3 plans, okay? The strategy to play at one team to differ from the strategy to play a different team because of strength, positioning, and stuff like that. When you have only one plan, okay, and then you cannot play other teams. The point I'm making is that in the past, we had a strategy as when we have majority in Parliament and we have that strategy, we take something in, we use our numbers to pull it through. This is a time when we had a hung Parliament.
Right.
And I don't mean to slant anybody, but I don't think the people in Parliament understand what a hung Parliament is. It means you do not have the numbers to do the legislative agenda that you otherwise do if you had majority. So what does that call for? It calls for a different set of strategy. If you look at the way the majority is basically trying to move things through Parliament, you don't get the feeling that they think that they need a new strategy. When you are in a hung Parliament, there is consensus built, okay? There is compromise. There is the need, okay, to also withdraw and take on board some of the agenda of the other side. It's the only way you get what you want done.
Okay.
Now, how difficult is that?
And Kojo, sorry, but you have to be brief on this point. So just go ahead, but bear that in mind.
So, because how difficult is that when you know that it is what you need to do? So it's either an illusion that the majority side does not think that there is a hung Parliament, or they just don't have a different strategy. And it doesn't take anybody else to be able to figure this out. If they've been watching the play of politics in other countries, you will know what happens in the UK Parliament, what happens in the US Congress. When this problem arises, the strategy they take. And that's what we expect the majority to do.
All right. Let me come to Edward on this bit as we wrap the conversation. So you are in, part of the minority. Why are you willing to bend a little? Are you going to be a bit more malleable on the back of what the Council of State has been saying, interacting with both sides in Parliament? Are you going to be malleable a bit? Look, Professor Atuguba is saying that it may be terrible, it may not be the best thing we need, the e-levy, but we need it to shore up the economy. What is your take?
So if what I'm reading in the media is anything to go by, what the Council of State is doing is the issue of those chaos that normally underpin some of the activities we do in Parliament. But the issue of the e-levy is, you see, and I was listening to Kojo Poku, and I'm trying to make a point. If you've observed, Ben, if you observe very carefully, you realize that our minority leader, he speaks less when it comes to the e-levy issue. Since these confusions happened, he has been very measured in even his public utterances. He's been very measured because he knows that it falls within the leadership and that there must be the issue of conversation on both sides. But if you have a situation where the leadership of the majority and consistently they bring out statements that seem to irritate you. You have a situation where the first deputy speaker, you still can open your mouth and state that, oh, when the time comes and you are even presiding, you get up and come and do this. And you say it with that level of arrogance. And I'm seated at my corner. I said, okay, let's wait and see if you can do it. So then you have entrenched position. That's the first point.
So on that first point, just briefly, I'm sorry, but very briefly, is that to state that since he has, put that threat, so to speak, out there, you are also massing your forces and you'll match them to ensure that he cannot vote? Is that the point?
You can take my word to the bank. He will be matched squarely on that.
So if the first deputy attempts voting on the e-levy, what we saw before might happen again?
I don't know what will happen, but the point I'm telling you is he will be resisted.
He will be resisted.
He will be resisted. He will be resisted. That you can take to the bank. It's an assurance I'm giving you. However, what I think that we should begin to start looking at is the fact that, look, we have made some proposals that if we, you see, the issue of making resources available for government, government development must not necessarily be as a result of trying to look for more money. You can also look at cutting on expenditure.
Okay.
We have given government areas that we can look at to cut expenditure and still be able to make up that 6.9 billion.
Okay.
Unless government is not telling us the truth, then we'll have a challenge. Because
Edward,
if you have not been able to account for some of the money that we have given to you, why do you think that we should be comfortable giving you more money? And that is the issue.
Okay.
And they shot themselves, my last point, they shot themselves in the foot when we said that, look, you have been creating the impression that part of the challenges that we have today is because of the COVID activities, even though we have said that it's more because of the election expenditure, election-related expenditure.
Right.
But you say it is COVID. Then we say that, look, if that is the case, the COVID funds, can we have a bipartisan committee to investigate how the COVID funds were used, just to see the transparency nature of it? You have a first deputy speaker sit there after the speaker had admitted the question at the motion, comes to say that he was throwing the motion. So you are not even being transparent. Why do you think that we're in the challenge?
So it appears
both
parties are digging their heels in. We can only pray that things, turn out well in Parliament and that things don't spill over or boil over once more. But thank you so much, Edward Bawa, Member of Parliament for Bongo, member of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. Thank you so much for your time, sir. And Kojo Poku, thank you so much. Always refreshing interacting with you. Thank you for joining the conversation. We take a breather. When we return, of course, our Living Standard series. And of course, we're going to be hitting a fuel pump very close to you to find out what is happening there today, realistically. Do stay.